So today I want to talk about strategies to deal with appraisals. Appraisals are becoming a problem for me on a bi-weekly, almost daily basis because prices have gone up so fast in Los Angeles. There's no inventory, low interest rates have driven just an absolute explosion in the market, and you as a real estate broker or buyer need to be prepared for bad appraisals. So I'm going to be talking about strategies to hopefully circumvent or mitigate some of those bad appraisals. All the way through the valley, Griffith Park, the ocean in Santa Monica, downtown, Catalina in the far background. I got the boys on this hike. I mean, LA is just incredible. And it is why it is so expensive. So let's get into it. All right, finished the hike with the boys. They're tired. Let's get back to the office. First, I want to talk about appraisals and how you should handle them as a listing agent. So everyone knows the listing agent handles the appraisal process. You get a call from the appraiser, set up the appraisal, meet the appraiser at the appraisal at the property. And generally on the first call with the appraiser, I will ask if they'd like comps, because a lot of appraisers don't want to hear the broker's opinion of value. It's for a lot of reasons. It doesn't really matter why. They don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it.
Triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lord. You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I want to give them my opinion. I want to influence the appraisal, but I don't want to influence the appraisal negatively and upset the appraiser in a fashion that's going to negatively affect the deal. So you want to be cognizant of who you're dealing with and finesse the process. When you get to the appraisal, if you are able to give some input, it is not enough that you just tell them what the activity was and tell them what the price is, tell them what the backup offers were. You want to give him a flavor for what happened while you were on the market. So you want to bring your offers, not all the offers, bring the top sheet. You want to show him you had 20 offers. You want to show him the terms, that there were no loan and appraisal on 5 of them, that the top 5 offers were all close to what you're in contract for. You want to show him what the market was for this house, because obviously you want it to appraise. Whether you have a loan or appraisal contingency or not, you want things to appraise, you want things to go smoothly, you want the buyers to be happy, you want it to work out. So that is what you have to do as a listing agent. Sometimes, as a buyer's agent, if I don't feel the listing agent is strong, I will maybe come to the appraisal to help and feel out that situation. Or even if the listing agent is strong, I still come to the appraisal because I want to make sure I know what to expect with the appraisal. And I can usually generally get a good read on what's going to happen with the appraisal by talking to the appraiser for a couple minutes. So I think that's very important. So you want to make sure as a listing agent and as a buyer's agent, you are getting the data to the appraiser in a manner that doesn't offend the appraiser and in a manner that's going to help your deal. So that is a strategy for mitigating bad appraisals. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's just out of your control. The hard part is with prices going up as fast as they are, there isn't always data to support the new deal that you're doing, or the transaction that you're doing rather, because you're setting a new record in your area if you have a good listing every time you're listing a property in an increasing market. 2, which is a little less conventional, is I will run 2 applications for my clients if I'm concerned about the appraisal. And the reason I do that is because 2 appraisers will appraise things differently on the same day. And case in point is this deal we just did on Boda. I was the buyer's agent on Boda, and Boda was an awesome Charles Dubois mid-century house in Woodland Hills with a view. Just incredible demand for this property. It was listed for $165,000, which was grossly underpriced. That was a marketing tactic and a smart one by the agent to generate multiple offers. And I think they had 19 or 20 offers. And they also had an offer deadline. We can talk about offer deadlines in another video. In fact, we're gonna talk about how I feel about them. For now, let's just say all is fair in love and real estate. I don't respect offer deadlines ever. I come in hard and hot and try to take the day for my client. No 2 appraisers are gonna appraise a property the same. No 2 real estate valuation websites are gonna appraise the property the same. Case in point, let's just take a look at the 2 big ones that I always look at, Redfin. So we ended up closing on this property for $1,975. Here's Redfin's estimate of $1,896.19. Here's Zillow's estimate of $1,980 for the same property. So who's right? I would argue that neither are right, because I think that property is actually worth more now than it was a month ago or so when we closed it, because there's no properties like it in the area. So We saw it. The offer deadline was maybe 4 or 5 days after we saw it. That day, I drove back immediately, got an offer in at $2 million, got it accepted, and told my clients, look, I'm concerned about appraisal. And we ordered 2 different appraisals. We ordered one with Wells Fargo, the private bank at Wells Fargo, and one with my go-to lender, Mike Artunian, who's with Homebridge. He's a mortgage broker. He is fantastic. So I ordered 2 loans. Wells Fargo appraisal came back at 1875. The Homebridge appraisal came at 1975. So who's right? The Wells Fargo appraisal that was done, the guy was crotchety. He didn't want to hear from me. He didn't want to hear from the listing agent. I could tell he was going to be a problem from the get-go. And the other guy was nicer, more open to discussion, and just kind of clearly got the property. So we got lucky. My clients ended up going with Mike's loan and Mike's appraiser, which was the better appraiser. And we were able to secure the deal for 1975, which was I think I said it was 1965 that it appraised for, so it was a little bit less, but we were able to get some credits for some repairs and get this thing done at close to the appraised value, which is good in this crazy market. This was listed for 1650, and we closed for 1975, some $325,000 over asking. So one, for you watching at home, make sure you understand that the listing price is a marketing price. It's not real. 165, I'd buy it, no contingencies, no questions asked, and then flip it for a couple $100,000. So you have to know that. When I work with a good agent who understands that, understand that. Listing prices mean nothing. You know, it's important to know the value of everything and not the price. And the value of this house was $2 million, and we got it. But this strategy of doing 2 appraisals is labor intensive. It's not totally fair for the one lender that's not gonna get the deal. In this instance, they shouldn't get the deal because they got a bad appraisal. And the reason they got a bad appraisal is probably because when the appraisal management company put the appraisal out to all the appraisers, they picked the cheapest appraisal with the shortest turnaround, which I'm always pushing for the shortest turnaround, but I want the best appraiser. You know, I'm a true believer you get what you pay for. This other guy was just a better appraisal. He had better comps. The short appraisal used a comp from 8 months ago. That's crazy. I would use a comp from 3 months ago in this market to justify an appraisal. It used to be 6. You want to use properties that are comparable in intangibles. You want to use properties that are comparable in size, both lot and square footage. And he really didn't. And he also used a couple comps that were on incredibly busy streets. So it worked out. But convincing your client to do 2 appraisals costs a lot of money. But if you can do it, it benefits them. And you know, I can give you numerous examples where I've been in this situation. Appraisals differentiate. One of the appraisals is better than the other, and we went with that lender. So that is one strategy to mitigate the downside of bad appraisals. So last strategy for dealing with short appraisals is trying to get your appraisal done during your investigation period. Now, every agent in Los Angeles does this. If they're doing a loan, there are situations where the appraisal doesn't really matter because of cash or whatever.
Shut up and take my money.
But, you know, generally in a low interest rate environment, it is good to get a loan, and it is good to see the appraisal before you have to go hard on the transaction. Now, you cannot back out of a transaction when you have no appraisal contingency based on an appraisal. You can back out based on inspection or what you come up with in your diligence period based on diligence. And arguably, you don't want to buy property that didn't appraise and has a lot of problems. So you need to be careful about how you communicate your cancellation if that is the route you're going to take. You need to make sure it is actually based on inspection. And you need to know that there is a risk that if you're really doing it based on appraisal, the seller might try to hold your deposit, and you may have to mediate and arbitrate, and ultimately the arbitrator is the decision maker, and everyone knows what you're doing. So make sure you have good representation, make sure you do know what you're doing and understand the risk. And the risk is not just your 3% deposit, but it's also the attorney's fees that may be awarded in the event it turns out that you didn't act in good faith and you were really canceling based on appraisal. So kind of a nuanced and tricky thing to talk about, but it is a reality. We, our advisors, will tell you this is what you can do. These are the possible consequences. And you know what? It's a hard real estate market, and maybe you're willing to take that risk. And you know, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I want people to do things in good faith, but also there's things that become so hard. You just have to be smart.
That was genius, Lloyd. Sheer genius.
And I think it's smart business to rush an appraisal so you can see it right away, just in case there's some incredible downside risk. And you know what? There are some investigation components of an appraisal that people don't talk about. I see it every day. People include things that are not permitted or not on the tax record that are associated in their measurement, and then the measurement from the appraisal comes back and it's not correct. Did you cancel based on the appraisal? No, you canceled based on the inspection that the appraiser did and the square footage. So there are lots of different ways to couch things, and I could go on and will go on and on if you want to call me and talk about it, but you need to act with good faith and fair dealing in every contract you enter into. You need to do a comprehensive diligence so you know what you're buying. I think it's good practice to see the appraisal before your investigation period is over. If you can. If you can't, you can't. You need to be ready for every and any situation if you are trying to buy a property. If you know that there's a possibility that the appraisal is not going to appraise, figure out a way to get that extra cash if you don't have it. Or be ready to part with that extra cash. If you're not willing to part with that extra cash, make sure that you really do your diligence and understand what the risk of canceling during your investigation based on investigation. I've never lost a deposit in my career as a broker, but I have seen as an attorney people lose their deposits. And a lot of times, rightly so. They weren't acting in good faith. Be careful, work with a pro, and just understand the risk and the pros and cons of everything you do.